probably know.
What number? 1020.
10:20.
Here we go.
We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It's really hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Oh yeah, yeah, 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 yeah.
Good morning. This is a beautiful start to our day. Thank you. I want to begin, as always, by welcoming you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where we join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to each and every one of you. We're so glad to have you this morning, and begin, as always, by embracing and welcoming all that you come with, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences. All that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this includes, as always, those who are in the room with us, those who are streaming with us, and those of you who are Zooming with us as well this morning. We're all so very glad to have you. We'll greet our Zoom attendees in just a moment, but I wanted to make a couple of announcements. One, please remember that June 4th, after our second service, beginning at 12:30, we will have our annual meeting to pass budget, elect officers, make any proposed bylaw changes, that sort of thing. And we will need a quorum, so please plan on coming if you will. And one of our board members, Sarah Darcy, has kindly volunteered to make sure there's some finger food here so you won't get hungry if you stay around. So please plan on attending. We would appreciate that very much. Also, the choir, this is, I understand, your last Sunday before taking a summer break.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah. I'm not like hearing any wahoo, yahoo or anything. It's like it's mixed feelings. It's mixed feelings. You get a break and we're like, I wish the choir were here. So, but anyway, you deserve it, and thank you very much. And by the way, and you're dressed for vacation, by the way. Yeah, okay. So that's good. And I've been asked to actually invite you to take these next couple of months while the choir is away and you're really missing them, to consider if maybe it's something that you might want to be part of, help our choir grow and sound even better, if that's even possible. So please get a hold of us, particularly Deb, if you're interested in joining the choir next year. So thank you all, and I hope you enjoy your various journeys in your summer break.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's say hello to our friends on Zoom. And who is our host today?
Hello, it's Stephen. Can you hear me?
Yes, Stephen, how are you?
Okay, do I sound like I'm underwater these days?
You sound pretty good today. Yeah, I think we might have that problem solved.
Okay. Okay, good, great. Well, at the moment, we have about 11 people on Zoom and in 3 countries on 2 continents.
Wow.
So you're crossing great barriers here. So looking forward to the service.
Yes, well, thank you. We're so glad to have all of you, and it's great to be an international congregation. So thanks so much. And Stephen, you're actually the going to be our guest speaker in June. Is that correct?
Right, at the end of June.
End of June,
So,
you'll be our guest speaker, and coming at us all the way from Italy.
Correct. Yes.
Great.
It'll be a bit of a challenge, but I think technically we can do it.
Yes, well, I think technically we can too, and your voice sounds great today, so rest assured.
Okay, good.
All right, my friend, we'll talk later. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's take a few moments at the start of our service, as usual, to greet one another.
Okay. We can unmute for a few minutes.
All right, more time to visit with each other during our social hour after the service. But let's move forward now by lighting our chalice. The chalice is the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
Our opening reflection today is from novelist Sarah Maitland's book called A Big Enough God. I often dream I am a tightrope walker. I climb the rope ladder slowly, carefully, adjusting to its wrigglings. The wooden slats mutter to me all the way up. The rungs my right foot stands on say, "If you are afraid of falling, you will fall." And the rungs my left foot presses say, "If you believe you cannot fall, you will fall." Eventually, I arrive on the little platform at the top. I strip off my tracksuit and am revealed in all my sequined glory. I look out and down at the upturned eyes, sparkling brighter than my costume. Then the spotlight pins me, and I hear its mocking tones. It says, "And probably in the end, you will fall anyway." And in my dream, I always listen politely and know it is true, and then I go out, sparkling, flashing, and dance on the void. That is the challenge, the moment of hope, to dance as near the edge of destruction as is possible, to be willing to fall and still not fall. And the audience cheers, and it is because it is beautiful, and because they know that this time I may indeed fall, and because they know that that is precisely why it is beautiful, and I have made it beautiful.
This next song always reminds me of looking out over the congregation for years, actually, and seeing all the wonderful variety of what you all do and what you all give. The hymn is called We Are. It is 1051 in your turquoise hymnal. Please rise as you're willing and able. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We
We are now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning, and want to begin with a candle for the people of Ukraine, as we have been for some time now, who are suffering the terrible impacts of the violence and war going on in that region of the world. And also for church member Sarah Stoll, who is dealing with some health issues at this time. She said she would appreciate a candle on her behalf this morning. So let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others, and as always, you'd be welcome to name them aloud at this time, if you'd like. I also want to make light a special candle for one of our members, Ann, whose brother Joe passed away of a heart attack a couple weeks ago. I forgot to mention it then, and I thought that I would do so this morning. He was 68 years old. His wife of 45 preceded him in death 2.5 years ago, so he was a big support to the family and is going to be missed. So I wanted to be sure and put that candle in today. While I was thinking about it, it got texted to me, and sometimes I forget to copy that to my documents. So with that said, those named aloud and those embraced in our silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And I've got to see our order of service here. I should have thought of this earlier, because today is our special collection, and you have a special collection envelope in your order of service, and it is on behalf of the Freedom Project East, which supports Black, Indigenous, and people of color in Eastern Washington and the Spokane area. And I'm sorry I don't have much more about that. You want me to say anything more than that for now, Nancy? I'll be sure and get the...
The founder of that organization was a speaker here in Spokane last month. Yes, last month. And he works with the recently released prisoners to help them reestablish in this, outside the prison system.
Thanks for giving us more context. Again, I'll look that up and be ready for the second service to be a little more knowledgeable. These things I forget. By the way, I had 2 services this week, 2 sermons and a presentation on Tuesday. Not that I'm making excuses, but I'm out of it. So, yes, so we again, if you want to give to this, please use the special collection envelope. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Memory
don't know. Perhaps love is like an ocean, full of conflict, full of pain, like a fire when it's cold outside, and thunder when it rains. If I should live forever and all my dreams come true, my memories of love will be of you. Memories of
Thank you so much. Always wonderful to have John Denver in our service. So we don't actually have a story for all ages this morning with some intention because we are going to be having our new member welcome service during our second service in its place. So I thought I would seize the opportunity during our early service to actually say to those of you who perhaps are streaming with us or Zooming with us and have been considering becoming official members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, we would be delighted to have you. It's been wonderful to be able to reach beyond the confines of our sanctuary walls, and this is something that has escalated, obviously, during the UUA crisis, if you will, as well as the post-COVID world in which we're doing a lot more meetings and communicating online. But this has been a vision of this congregation almost since the time I came, when we began contributing funds in order to create the streaming service that we've actually had up for a number of years and that folks have been taking advantage of for some time. And that was for the very purpose of being able to literally get out of our own box, to be able to see ourselves as part of a global community that could be both local and elsewhere. So now the time is right, and if you want to join, you can attend either one of our new member orientations when it comes up. We also have them recorded online now, so you can watch one of those. Or if you've been a Unitarian Universalist for some time now, you can probably just be a conversation with me and signing our membership book, that sort of thing. So please contemplate that and let us know. Ours is a very welcoming church, and we are continuing to expand our community, both locally and in the farthest reaches of the planet. So we would love to have you.
As we move into a time of meditation, you are invited to find a comfortable, receptive position. Close your eyes if you wish, take a few deeper breaths, and reflect on these words from professor and scholar in mindfulness and stress reduction, Jon Kabat-Zinn. Can we be in touch with our own life unfolding? Can we rise to the occasion of our own humanity? Can we take on the challenges we meet, even seeking them out, to test ourselves, to grow, to act in a principled way, to be true to ourselves, to find our own way, and ultimately not only have it, but more importantly, live it?
I'm really excited about our reading this morning because it is from William Shatner's new book, Boldly Go. So I am a huge Star Trek fan, to say the least. So I'm going to actually read the first paragraph from the book, the introduction, and the last paragraph from the book. Long before Gene Roddenberry put me on a starship to explore the galaxy, long before I had actually ventured into space, I had been gripped by my own search for knowledge, for even a fraction more understanding than I'd had before, perhaps even more for meaning. If I never succeed, never discover the answer to the age-old question of why, to be always learning, always wondering, well, the quest itself keeps me vital. I get a tingle down my spine when I'm presented with an opportunity to learn something new, a daily occurrence for me, even at 91 years old. Open your eyes, your ears, your mind, and you'll quickly be overcome by the wonder that surrounds us. I'm never so thrilled as when the word wow escapes my mouth. It's an almost involuntary expression of childlike delight at learning something new. I probably say wow more now than when I was a child, and I'm absolutely enchanted by that fact. It was the ultimate expression of my life's journey. I have lived 1,000 lives, I have journeyed far and wide, I have gone boldly, carried on by a river of fate to a destination I cannot see, but to which each day I am brought one step closer. I have served my whole life for meaning, searched my whole life for meaning, for connection, and though I cannot touch its essence or unravel its vast mystery, I believe that in my soul I have found what I have been looking for.
I'd like to just tell you today that we have Marshall Peterson with us. He's kind of tucked in the back, and it's such a delight to have him. He plays drums with us, and these are 2 John Denver songs that we like, and I think you'll see why they're connected with our costumes.
Thank you. Beautiful. These days, I'm even more dumbfounded than usual by those claiming to be against abortion because they also claim to value life, yet are also against sex education, contraception, and planning for parenthood. They also tend to be against gun control measures, even though we see stories in the news almost weekly about mass shootings, often involving the innocent children they claim to care so much about. Women don't have a right to choose whether or not they'll remain pregnant, but we can't possibly take away the rights of men to own military-style assault weapons that are made for nothing other than mass murder, no matter how many people they keep killing. Compared to gun rights, it turns out life has little value. The disconnect here is between life and quality of life. Jesus is reported to have said, "I've come that they may have life and that they might have it abundantly." We cannot claim that we care about the unborn while not caring even more about what happens to them after they're born. By which I don't merely mean to keep their hearts beating, but that they have a reasonable quality of life in which they can find happiness and achieve their fullest potential. Fully unfolding is a drive in most of us, but it is easily constrained in societies that don't value quality of life. We're not here to merely occupy space, consume resources, and breathe air, nor merely to get a job and eke out a measly living so that a handful of others can become wealthy beyond measure. We are here to fully unfold as individuals by achieving our fullest potential, which usually requires us to have a certain quality of life. We need, as Maslow showed, to have our basic physiological needs met, along with our need for safety and security and love and belonging, before we can find the freedom or worry about the freedom to concentrate on self-actualizing and becoming who we were meant to be. Social psychologist Erich Fromm says that the whole meaning of life is to develop into the individual one potentially is, and that the duty to be alive is the same as the duty to become oneself. Now, this is a strange juxtaposition of terms. How can one ever be other than oneself? And the answer is that we grow and that we change. There's a line in another of John Denver's songs, "Some days are diamonds, some days are stones," that says, "Now the face that I see in my mirror more and more is a stranger to me." But we don't only grow older, we also evolve and change, as do our beliefs and our values, sometimes becoming far more different people than we once were. More and more, I can see there's a danger in becoming what I never thought I'd be, the song continues. But the real danger for us is not becoming the best person we can be by reaching our full potential. In his book, The Soul's Code, psychologist James Hillman says, "The Greeks believed that the soul of each of us is given a unique demon before we are born, and it has selected an image or pattern that we live out on earth." In this sense, he says, your demon is the carrier of your destiny. The Latin word for this demon is genius, which shares the same root as gene, genetics, and genesis. Genius means attendant spirit present from one's birth. It was originally thought of as the small inner voice, the guiding spirit, or our calling that is always reminding us of who we are supposed to become. That makes us itchy when we don't. We have genes that determine what we will look like, our coloring, our height, and maybe even some inherited personality traits. It seems reasonable that there might also be something unique about each of us that determines our skills and our passions. Something unique about our genetic configuration. Hillman says that these drives often become apparent from the start of our lives, even in childhood. Just as all that is needed to become a mighty oak is already contained within the tiny acorn, each of us comes into this world fully packed. Hillman says the acorn theory holds that each person bears a uniqueness that asks to be lived and that is already present before it can be lived. Consider this, he writes, amateur night at the Harlem Opera House. A skinny, awkward 16-year-old goes fearfully on stage. She is announced to the crowd. The next contestant is a young lady named Ella Fitzgerald. Miss Ella Fitzgerald is going to dance for us. Hold it, hold it. Now, what's your problem, honey? Correction, folks. Miss Fitzgerald has changed her mind. She's not going to dance. She's going to sing. Ella Fitzgerald gave 3 encores and won first prize. However, she had meant to dance. Was it chance that suddenly changed her mind? Did a singing gene suddenly kick in, or might that moment have been an annunciation, calling Ella Fitzgerald to her particular fate? Sometimes we resist our calling because, as fulfilling as it will ultimately be, it will lead to a difficult life, perhaps even a short life. Delicate and sickly, having almost died of pneumonia when he was 2, little Manuel was interested only in painting and reading. He stayed so much indoors and clung so tightly to his mother's apron strings that his sisters and other children used to tease him. Around his hometown, he was known as a thin, melancholy boy who wandered around the streets after school, lost in thought. He rarely joined other boys' games of soccer or playing bullfighting. But at age 11, something switched in Manuel, and suddenly nothing else mattered much except the bulls. Manuel Laureano Rodriguez Sanchez went on to become Manolete, one of Spain's greatest bullfighters. Was a dim knowledge of the call there all along, Hillman asked? Then, of course, little boy Manolete was afraid and clung to his mother. Were her apron strings a metaphor, or was he already using her apron as a skirt, as a cape? Of course, he kept away from the torero games in the street, taking shelter in the kitchen. How could this 9-year-old boy stand up to his destiny? In his acorn were 1,000-pound black bulls with razor-sharp horns thundering toward him. Among them is Lero, the one that gored him through groin and belly and gave him death at age 30 in the largest funeral ever witnessed in Spain. If Hillman's acorn theory is correct, and I believe it is, having considered its implications in my own life and the lives of those I've observed, Manolete's life may have been short, but it was fulfilling because he eventually left the safety of the kitchen to fulfill his calling. But it's not so easy, even for those of us who hopefully won't have to fight bulls or otherwise risk our lives to find fulfillment. It's difficult because society tends to encourage conformity, not foster individual self-actualization and fulfillment. Again, as Hillman so succinctly says, I believe we have been robbed of our true biography, that destiny written into the acorn, and we go to therapy to recover it. Unfortunately, most of us don't go into therapy with even enough understanding of this phenomenon to say, hey, I'm not fulfilling my potential. And too few therapists recognize that the major cause of human unhappiness is discontentment, and depression is our inability to fully unfold. Yet Erich Fromm was one who understood again that the purpose of life is to develop into the individual one potentially is. And if not, he says, we are not fully born. That's the other thing anti-abortionists don't get. That if we truly care about the unborn, then we need to care as much about the born, because all of us are still being born throughout our lives. The 17th century Danish existentialist Søren Kierkegaard believed that if we aren't able to truly be ourselves, or are unwilling to be ourselves due to fear and social pressure, we will live in a state of what he called despair, something he also called sickness unto death. A sickness that stays with us, a sickness of the soul that stays with us our whole lives. Fromm says something similar, that if we don't achieve our full potential, we live a life of boredom. If I were to imagine hell, he said, it would be the place where you continually are bored. And he doesn't mean feeling occasionally bored, but chronically dissatisfied with life because we are unfulfilled. We are not who we are supposed to be. So, how do we achieve such a state? How do we fully unfold? How do we become fully human by unlocking our fullest human potential? Since few, if any of us, are ever fully born while we're alive, meaning that we're always growing and becoming, like William Shatner, even at age 91, these are important questions to keep on asking ourselves, as is knowing how to answer them. In my own journey, I found several catalysts that I consider essential in the process of fulfilling our potential. I believe the most crucial catalyst is character. Character is something that we develop that eventually becomes the essence of who we are. And we develop it by learning to distinguish between what is right and what is wrong. Philosophically, that's a tall order, because nobody can ever truly know the difference between right and wrong. There are at least 3 schools of thought about it. Rule-based ethics that say we should always do the right thing no matter the outcome. And outcome-based ethics, which says whatever we do ought to result in a good outcome. And virtue ethics that says we should always strive to live by certain principles that must be upheld in every situation. I've come to consider myself a virtue ethicist who lives by Enlightenment philosopher Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative that nobody should ever be treated as a means to someone else's ends, but should be considered an end within themselves. This is also known as the humanistic ethic, explained by Fromm as the sole criterion of ethical value being human welfare, and that the unfolding and growth of every person should be the aim of all social, political activities. But again, to develop character, it is really up to you to learn about ethics. Wrestle with its perennial problems and determine the basis of your ethics so that no matter what situation you find yourself in, your moral choices will be consistent. You will have moral integrity because you have ethical character. You're ethically constant. Remember that the very word ethics comes from the Greek word meaning character. And character is the quality about us that is the same no matter what circumstances we're in. It is the quality that allows us to be ourselves no matter the situation, to fully unfold as ourselves no matter the difficulties we face, and no matter whether the outcome is to benefit us or not. So don't mistake knowing the difference between right and wrong with your passing emotions and situational ethics. To fully unfold, to become fully human, you must develop character by becoming an ethical being who knows what right and wrong means for you. However you answer that question. This goes along with another catalyst for unfolding, becoming emotionally intelligent. We are emotional beings, but our emotions can easily get the best of us and mislead both our thoughts and our actions. Becoming emotionally mature means that we are aware of our emotional states so that we can maintain emotional control and express our feelings in healthy and productive ways. It means learning to shift our emotional states to something more productive when necessary. And no matter how we are feeling, it means remaining empathic and considerate towards others and having good social skills. Self-awareness, self-control, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills are the mark of an emotionally intelligent person, which is vital to achieving our full human potential. So is intellectual integrity. Emotional thinkers tend to rationalize rather than reason, yet believe because they have thoughts justifying their emotional-driven desires that they are being perfectly reasonable. Hang out with emotional thinkers long enough, however, and you'll find that they lack intellectual integrity, meaning that their beliefs are often inconsistent and contradictory. Intellectual integrity is marked by critical thinking skills, consistency over time, and above all, the ability to see and accept the flaws in one's own thinking. Emotional thinkers are desperate to convince everyone else that they are right. Intellectual integrity wants us most of all to be honest with ourselves. Another catalyst for fully unfolding is developing a philosophy of life. How many of us go through life without seriously having thought about what we believe about the nature of reality, of truth, of meaning? Our answers to these perennial questions can and should change as we gain new insights and experiences, but even then, we should understand what has changed them, or what has changed and why they have changed, why we have allowed them to change. We should know ourselves. My own ethics have changed a lot over time, from being outcome-based to virtue-based. I'm more of a materialist and an empiricist today than when I was younger. I'm more optimistic about humanity and the future than ever before. Psychologically speaking, today I'm more of a Freudian and Freudian than the Jungian I once was. And today, despite the tremendous challenges that I faced these past few years, as one of the most despised figures in the religion that I love and serve, I'm more fulfilled now than ever. And I won't go into all the reasons why I've made these shifts, because we don't have time. The point here is that I've changed my mind and beliefs over time, that I'm aware of those changes, and I do know the reasons I have chosen to make those changes. It's not enough to believe what we believe. We ought to know why we believe the things we do, and our reasons should be sound. Let me begin to conclude by addressing the biggest question of them all, the one that leaves many troubled even if they agree with all I've just said. How do I know what my purpose is? A lot of people tell me they don't know what their calling is. They don't feel driven toward or passionate about anything specific, let alone toward a particular career. Firstly, I'm not suggesting that we are destined to have specific careers. Only that the thing that makes us who we are, when followed, should create the kind of life, including one's work, that satisfies us. Someone who is passionate about caring for others may go into medicine, social work, counseling, custodial work, education, or many other options that fulfill that calling. Someone who is innately physical may become an athlete, a construction worker, a firefighter, a park ranger, and so on. Someone who is a thinker may become a professor or a philosopher, a scientist, a researcher, a writer, and the like. So I'm not talking about destiny here. I'm talking about gravitating towards circumstances that as individuals we find fulfilling. That's how we get there. Follow our hearts. So with this in mind, the best process for determining our calling that I know of is the Japanese philosophy of Ikigai, which means something like a passion that gives value and joy to life. Ikigai, a passion that gives value and joy to life. It requires us to answer 4 questions for ourselves. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And, being the pragmatists that the Japanese are, what can you be paid for? And many will say only the first 3 of these questions are really important, that if you do what you love, the money will follow, or at least won't seem as important. So whether you try to answer 3 or all 4, know that it is at the intersection of where your answers meet that you will find your Ikigai, your source of fulfillment. And it's a rewarding exercise to undertake wherever you're at in your life, to sit down with a piece of paper and answer those questions. What do I love? What am I good at? What does the world need? Where do they intersect? That's where I belong. It's a relatively easy exercise, but achieving our fullest human potential isn't. Developing character and a consistent ethic, becoming emotionally mature, having intellectual integrity, understanding our philosophy of life, and discovering what will be most fulfilling for us to do with our lives is hard work and continuing effort, because we always have room to grow at any age. And at any age, life is relatively short. It would be a waste not to use our brief time here to fully unfold as individuals and as human beings. Thank you. Thank you.
Please rise as you're willing and able to sing our last song of the morning. I picked this one because if you may remember Julie Andrews with her arms open, singing The Sound of Music. And to me, that's the feel of expansion and growth. So let's sing that one.
Our benediction today is from the late American psychologist Abraham Maslow. A musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write if he is to be ultimately at peace with himself. What a man can be, he must be. Amen, blessed be, salam alaikum, and shalom.
Shalom.